Marvel's Eternals. This is the 26th, 27th movie in the MCU timeline. It just came out on Friday, and it is a big one. I feel like we could say this about many of the Phase 4 properties, but this one kind of feels like the property that's kind of fully gonna start the next phase of what's happening. I know Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man No Way Home is going to kind of crack open the multiverse in a sense, but this one kind of feels like Guardians of the Galaxy in a way, where it opens up a whole new avenue of the MCU to play with. So while Spider-Man may be the big event type movie that we've been waiting for, this one is definitely, like I said, more like Guardians of the Galaxy, where it opens up a whole new avenue of the Marvel Universe to work with. Now, Marvel's Eternals is already kind of proving to be a little bit divisive. Before it came out, the critics were not a big fan of this movie. I think it's sitting at like 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think it's like 60-something on Metacritic. But the audience seems to really enjoy it, and that is also a sentiment that I echo. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is definitely more of a character piece. It's a slow burn character piece. It struggles to get off its feet a little bit in the beginning. There's a lot of exposition that we got to get through right off the bat, because these are brand new characters who are just being introduced into the MCU, given that they've technically, according to the movie's lore, they've been here for 7,000 years and they just haven't done anything. Kind of got to explain why. We got to explain, who they are, who their enemies are, all that jazz. So right off the bat, this movie, at least in my opinion, the first act of this movie is its worst act, which that's okay because it's still a good movie. Once it kind of gets its feet set under it, and the story of what's happening really starts to pick up, and you start to see how these relationships between the Eternals have developed over the years, and how it's playing into the future of the Eternals. Yeah, once it finds its legs, like the last third of this movie is emotional. It is action packed. It is fun, and it is visually stunning. Like the whole movie, visually stunning. Directed by Chloe Zhao. She did what is it, Nomadland or whatever, won an Academy Award or whichever award it won. A lot of this film was shot on location, so lots of very picturesque backgrounds and set pieces, and it was very clear that this movie was shot by people who won awards. Sometimes you can tell certain movies, you're like, okay, that doesn't look that great, or maybe they found a real nice spot for a couple scenes, but like most of the scenes in this movie, you look at it and you're like, okay, that's a wonderfully constructed shot right there. But what is the Eternals about? I haven't said any of that yet. So the Eternals follows the 7 members of the Eternals that came here 7,000 years ago, and the movie kind of jumps back and forth in the future and the past, just examining the relationships between these characters, and how they're dealing with this mission that has been given to them by the Celestials. And as far as these people know, the mission that they have been given is to protect the Earth from deviants, which were also created by the Celestials. And if they kill all the deviants, then they just gotta wait and find out when they can leave, what they're supposed to do after that. But as you can imagine, with all benevolent creators and leaders, direction isn't always abundant, so they spend a lot of time just chilling and living lives, and eventually that's what they all do. They kind of separate and live their own personal individual lives until we reach modern day, where we have Cersei, played by Gemma Chan, and Sprite, played by Leah McHugh. They're in London with Kit Harington's Dane Whitman, and they are attacked by a deviant, which we kind of thought they were all done. So then that just kind of leads through the whole story of getting all the Eternals back together, finding out why the deviants are here, trying to stop them. And, there's a few twists and turns, some of which are predicted, not hard to figure out, and some of which are kind of genuinely a surprise. But at kind of the heart of this movie is like a love story, but not necessarily like two characters falling in love. It's two characters that, it kind of is. So these two characters, Gemma Chan and Richard Madden's Cersei and Icarus, for most of their history on Earth, they are together, like in love styles. When we meet them in modern day, they are not. And so the film is kind of a two-pronged thing. On one part of it, in the past, you see them kind of together and being in love. In the future, you see them not. And you don't know necessarily what happened or why. And as the movie unfolds, we get to learn exactly why they are no longer together, and it's very interesting, and it plays very well into the third act of the film. I thought they did pretty good, but the two characters actually that had the most chemistry were Druig and Makari. Druig is played by Barry Kogan, and Makari is played by Lauren Ridloff. Lauren Ridloff. And they're just like super cute together. I don't know if they're like dating or what, but they're just like, they're real nice. Makari has speed abilities, and Druig can like control people with his minds. I should probably say who all these cast members are and what they can do. That makes sense. So Gemma Chan, Cersei, she can like transfigure different things. She can turn water into stone, or rocks into air, or whatever. Like at the base of what these things are, she can kind of shift and change them into different things, which comes in big at the end of the film. We also have Richard Madden's Icarus. He's your stereotypical like Superman-esque figure, and they actually even make a joke about him being like Superman when some little kid is like, "You're Superman." He's like, "I don't wear a cape." We have Angelina Jolie's Thena. She's very cool. There's a really interesting dynamic they play with her, where they play with the idea of her not being fully in control of herself, and the reasons behind that is really interesting and plays into the larger conflict at hand. But she's not featured as much in the movie as you would expect for someone of Angelina Jolie's caliber. Someone who is also not featured in the film a lot is Selma Hayek's Ajak. Based on the trailer, you kind of expect her to be a prominent figure in this movie, and she's barely in it at all, which is kind of crazy. But she did good enough for what she was given, I guess. Again, she's not really in the movie a lot to judge her performance. We also have Kit Harington's Dane Whitman. He's also barely in the movie. He's in it in the beginning, and then barely. He's like on a FaceTime call in the middle of the movie, and then he comes back at the end of the movie and in the post-credit scene to set up some cool future stuff. Kumail Nanjiani, he played Kingo. He was fantastic. Funny all around. Him and his valet were perfect comedic elements put into the film to kind of lighten the mood for this long character drawn piece. But he also was able to bring some deeper emotional moments. But yeah, him and his valet were excellent. Leah McHugh played Sprite. She had some character development throughout the film of just... I'm trying to figure out like how much I want to spoil about, what kind of character arc she goes through, but I thought she did a good job, and the actress that played her was great. We also had Fastos, played by Brian Tyree Henry. He's very interesting. I imagine there's going to be a certain sect of the internet that is not a fan of him, and safe to say I am not a fan of that certain sect of the internet. There's definitely going to be quite a few right-wing buttholes that are not going to enjoy this movie because Brian Tyree Henry, he plays Fastos, which in this movie, he is black and gay. I believe he is the first, maybe, is he? No, wait, I don't know. He might be the first, like, official, like, on-screen, like, gay superhero for Marvel. I think. I could be wrong. I could super be wrong on that, but I imagine the right wing nut jobs are not going to enjoy him. You know, he kisses a character, he kisses a man in this movie, and I think in Saudi Arabia, this movie is like banned because of that. So, you know, hey, you know, I didn't mind it. I thought it was nice. It was cute. That his reasons for wanting to do what he does play into the fact of him having a family, and I liked that a lot. Lauren Ridloff as Makari, fantastic. Her powers were really really cool to see, like the way. Honestly, this movie did Flash versus Superman way better than any other movie has. You know, she was fantastic. Seeing her go about her thing, and just her performance in general is very interesting because like she plays a character. I don't know if she is deaf in real life, but she plays a character in the movie who doesn't speak and only uses sign language, right? But she can like sense vibrations in the air, so like when you're talking she knows what you're saying, and she understands you, but she like will sign back at you. I don't know sign language, sorry, that was probably insensitive. But she was excellent. Her and Druig, played by Barry Kogan, have great chemistry. They're fantastic. Another person that kind of carried this film was Ma Dong-seok. Did I say that right? Ma Dong-se. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. He played Gilgamesh. I guess his English name, I don't know if that's the correct way to say that, is Don Lee. He was great. He was very, very funny. The moment though where he drops his pie, oh, sad. He did a friggin' fantastic job. He was great. But yeah, there's a lot of characters in this film. So when you say it's a long, slow character piece, and there's like nine main characters, they definitely give each one of those people their due. Other than maybe like Angelina Jolie, actually they focused on her quite a bit. Probably Selma Hayek and Kit Harington were the ones that kind of got shunted off to the side. Selma Hayek, you know, most likely not going to be in future films. I don't want to spoil. Kit Harington definitely will be. But yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think that's how much I want to say without going into spoiler territory. It was a slow character piece, but I enjoyed the change of pace. It felt very different from your typical Marvel film, but I enjoyed it a lot. I would give it like an 8 out of 10. I think it was really good. But now I want to talk about a little bit of spoilers. Let's get into some spoilers. I don't know where I want to start necessarily. Some of the issues I had with this movie that take it down from a 9 or a 10 deal with some specific character things. One involving Sprite. They made a big deal about Sprite, you know, being in love with Icarus and, you know, turning temporarily to the villainous side to help him. That part I was fine with, but like generally I kind of wish there would have been a tiny bit more setup for that reveal. I mean, we had a moment early on in the bar where she's pretending to be like a grown woman, or she's putting on an illusion to make herself look older and taller and stuff. And the guy she's talking to kind of could look a little bit like Richard Madden, like that type of person. So that's a little bit of a hint there. But then later in the movie, when they're in this like commune, and Kingo kind of makes fun of her for loving Icarus, that's really like the only line of dialogue, if that makes sense, until later in the movie when she turns and joins him, and everyone is like, why'd she do that? And Kingo's like, isn't it obvious she's in love with him? And they're all like, oh, okay. I think it would have been cooler if that had a little bit more setup. I also think the Richard Madden Icarus as the main villain well, not main villain, but kind of like the orchestrator behind whatever's going down. I thought that was a little bit obvious, but it was still an effective storytelling beat, in my opinion. I also think the Celestials in general kind of lacked a bit of a personality. I mean, I know they're supposed to be these like overarching, all powerful beings, but you know, it was just kind of like a generic voice acting performance. Like it wasn't even like a noticeable one where you're like, oh, like that person, like I can tell who is voice acting that, or it's like a significant, like they act who some rando acted the hell out of that. It was just kind of like just a booming voice over a CGI thing. And I don't think it needed to be very individualized, but it would have been nicer if it was. I hope in future films, I hope they focus a lot more on Kit Harington's Black Knight, and his possible interactions with Blade. That's gonna be so dope, because it was confirmed that Blade was the one who was talking to him in the post-credits scene. I'm also excited to see Harry Styles and what he can bring to who's he playing? Eros? What he can bring to Eros, and the dog or whatever that thing was that was voiced by Patton Oswalt. I'm very interested to see what kind of interactions they bring to this gang, and just the future of what this universe holds. Another issue I kind of had with this film was the main deviant that they fight. So we don't necessarily like this deviant thing is kind of given a personality partway through the movie, and so like the way it plays out is he kills Ajak, right? This deviant kills Ajak with the assistance of Icarus and takes her powers, and then this deviant is the one that kind of we see reoccurring throughout the film. And once it's briefly kind of given a line of expositional setup where they mention like, oh, as it's draining powers, it's like it's evolving or becoming more of a person and not a beast or whatever. It would have been more interesting to kind of have followed this deviant throughout the film, from a more like individualized standpoint, right? Instead of having it be just this like nameless CGI beast that like you see multiple times and then like halfway through the movie it gets a personality. It would have been cool to and I think more effective to have this thing kind of have like, even if it's like a animal personality, like to have that from the beginning, if that makes sense. And then its demise was very quick, like and the explanation behind that, his death and what exactly happened in that scene wasn't completely clear. But none of these issues that I have with this film were like big enough to make me dislike the film. I still enjoyed the film. I'd still give it like an 8 out of 10, but it was just small issues here and there. What else? Oh, Icarus flying into the sun. That was interesting. I wonder if he's actually dead flying into the sun. It's the stereotypical story of like Icarus flew too close to the sun. It would be, I think, really interesting from a story standpoint if he didn't actually die when he flew in there. He feels guilty for, I don't know if he felt guilty for betraying his family or if he was just like, well, I failed in my mission. What is the point of me now? Like, I can't go back to them after I fought them. So I wonder, I hope he's not dead. I hope he somehow is like just impervious to the sun, and shows up later. But yeah, I had a decent amount of small issues with the film, but overall I still really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the change of pace, and I think this film actually sets up a lot of really cool future stuff. You kind of have to go through that character development part of this story in order to get to the super cool setup stuff. But I enjoyed the character development. So that's just me. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the film, liked it a lot. I'm interested to see what you guys think, though. From what I have seen, again, this is a very divisive film. People either really enjoy it or they don't enjoy it. There's not really like a middle ground. Well, I've seen a few people just be like, well, it's fine. But I imagine there's gonna be the people on both sides that are either in love with this film or hate this film. I am kind of in the middle, more towards the enjoyment side, but again, tell me what you guys think of this movie down below. What did you think of the change of pace? What did you think of the character decisions? Let me know. If you liked my review, I found it informative at all, please consider leaving a like on the video. It means a lot to me, helps some of my videos get seen more. Subscribe if you want to see any more movie reviews to any new movies that come out, or if you want to see reactions to any shows or movies that I watch on the channel. And then if you're interested in things like full-length reactions, consider supporting me on Patreon. I post all my full uncut reactions over there. On Patreon, you can also become a super supporter and get featured in every single one of my videos. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.